Well, thank you all so much for joining us for Museum of Bad Art presents a visit to the M.O.B.A. Zoo. Artists love to capture their furry, feathered, fishy friends. This presentation explores a collection of sincere, original art, including treasured pets, exotic creatures in the wild, and animals that exist only in the artist's imagination. Highly recommended for all fans of outsider art, animal lovers, and anyone who can appreciate a unique blend of creativity and humor. And today's presentation is led by Museum of Bad Art Curator-in-Chief Michael Frank. The Museum of Bad Art collects, exhibits, and celebrates art that will be seen in no other venue. Since 1993, they have collected art from thrift stores, yard sales, sidewalk trash, and even from the artists who created it. And they analyze, compare to classic art, and share with thousands of fans around the world. And again, want to thank the Friends of the Library for sponsoring. So all nearly 60 of us, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Michael for joining us here this morning. And Michael, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Someone told me it's all happening at the zoo. I do believe it. I do believe it's true. At the zoo, at the zoo, at the zoo, at the zoo, at the zoo.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am Michael Frank. I am the Curator-in-Chief of the Museum of Bad Art. Let me go ahead here. Louise Riley-Sacco is the permanent interim acting executive director of the museum. She was going to be here, but it turns out she cannot be here with us this morning, so I'll just go right ahead. As Curator-in-Chief of the Museum of Bad Art, I scour the yard sales, thrift shops, and interesting piles of trash, looking for art appropriate for our collection. I'm also happy to accept art donated by fans of the museum from around the world. We collect things that we believe to have been created in an honest attempt to make art, but in which something has gone wrong, either in the execution or the original concept. Compelling images may be the result of poor technique or unfortunate decisions made by talented artists losing their control over their imagery. After I find or accept a piece for the collection, before sharing it with the public, I interpretate it to help museum visitors understand what they're looking at. There are upwards of 800, actually there are over 800 pieces in the M.O.B.A. collection. To make things more manageable, we've divided them into smaller collections or galleries. The majority of the collection are representations of people. We call them portraits. Doppelhangers are portraits that, by accident or design, resemble famous people. Every major museum has religious imagery, and M.O.B.A. is no exception. Every major museum contains life studies, although it's not evident that all the artists in our collection have actually seen naked people. The M.O.B.A. sports section is where you'll see people running, jumping, playing, fighting. Unlikely landscapes and still lifes is where the imagery sometimes goes astray. And the III collection is an impressive number of paintings of eyeballs in various contexts, reflecting the age-old belief that eyes are the portals to the human soul. And of course, the M.O.B.A. Zoo, which we will explore this morning. All the art in our collection is important to us, but not necessarily what's considered important art. Auguste Renoir painted this trio of paintings in 1883. Dance at Beaucheval, Dance in the Country, and Dance in the City. We have none of these in our collection. However, we do have Blue Tango, where we see a stylishly handsome couple mid-step as they glide across the floor, cheek to cheek. In addition to cataract-impaired vision, this poor dog seems to be dealing with an unfortunate ear infection. The relative sizes of the dog and flagpole offer a clue into the level of intensity of the artist's love for his pet and his country. We do have many paintings of dogs, and here's another one with interesting perspective. I also think his toenails are very interesting. The viewer is struck by the gleam in this sweet little dog's eyes. She wears a bell on her choke collar, and her body is mysteriously absent. The artist eloquently challenges the viewer to re-examine old concepts of landscape with this remarkable fusion of ski resort and puppy. Stoic in yellow-eyed silence as he sits frozen beneath the ice-capped peak. Something happened here. That music was meant for the next one we'll see, but in this painting, the painting of Bozo the poodle, the artist used an impressive variety of impasto techniques to portray the contrasting textures of the wall, the soft chair, and the sweet little dog's curly coat. And that hula music was meant for this painting. Bone-juggling dog wearing a hula skirt. This is a delightful example of what we call labor-intensive pointlessism. The artist, Mary Newman, is a prolific artist whose outsider art is featured in museums around the country. When I asked her about the inspiration for this image, she said she could not afford to buy new canvases and found this one. It's a very odd size. It's something like it's 40 inches by 16 inches. She tried to think of an image appropriate for this size canvas. I think she pretty much nailed it. Here's an older painting. The artist painted this sweet portrait of her daughter Mary and her dog almost 80 years ago. While hairstyles come and go, smoky eye has been a constant for generations. No longer able to tolerate the incessant barking, Charlie the Chipmunk used a classic children's Band-Aid stars and strip to tape Sheba the sheepdog's mouth shut before posing with her on the picnic table. Pomeranians have distinctive tails that are feathered and fanned forward over the back, as well as luxurious coats in a variety of colors. Most of them have legs and feet as well. The artist's affection for her dog far outstrips her artistic skill. Done in such a hurry, The canine anatomy was not even considered. It looks as if this precocious pup has lapped up all the spilled eggnog at a holiday party and is ready to attempt a clear rendition of Danny Boy.
Is I'll be there in the sunshine or in the shadow.
The exquisite corpse is reminiscent of Frida Kahlo's self-portraits. The wires from her earbuds are not strong enough to close her chest wound. The perfectly manicured dog gazes directly at the viewer but offers no insight into the woman's marshmallow hat, the fried eggs on her left and right, or the little guy on her left shoulder who seems very excited to be there. The artist employed a no-holds-barred approach to graphically depict the archetypal news non-event. He painted on the inside cover of Konstnären magazine, which is Swedish for Artists magazine. The artist allowed the underlying red paint to bleed through, helping express the psychic pain driving the animal to resort to such violent behavior.
A friend of mine.
The artist is a skilled watercolorist, as is evident by his knowledgeable use of negative space to create the ghostly husky. The eyes of the cat bring a discordant, evil glint to an otherwise soft and peaceful scene. Who else thinks it's a good idea to eat from my bowl? Meanwhile, at the beach, two bathers' frantic calls for help go unnoticed as another life and death drama unfolds between the identically colored crab and cat. The artist added sand to the paint to give the beach a realistic texture and to indicate that the surf was dangerously high that day, dangerously rough. While it's usually difficult to discern a cat's emotions from its facial expression, this tubby tabby seems to be unhappy about the variety of snacks available. It's said that dogs have owners, but cats have staff. This painting represents a comment on issues of power as experienced by those who live with cats. Is the artist consumed by his love for his cat? Pussycats are fine, but it's clear that the public enjoys looking at big cats. It's 3 a.m. and the full moon rises in the city. The young couple regrets they did not hear the warning that nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
We don't talk about Bruno, no, no, no. We don't talk about Bruno.
It's interesting to ponder the fate of the owner of the rucksack next to a Bengal tiger standing in shallow water. It's probably safe to conclude that the owner has abandoned the pack and is the object of Bruno's hungry, vaguely man-faced gaze. And what's next here? Oh, here we are. A polydactyl lion poses, fresh from his coloring and blowout appointment at the salon. This is a visual representation of an ancient British nursery rhyme adapted by Lewis Carroll in Through the Looking Glass, about an interspecies battle. The unicorn's lustrous mane and tail offer scant defense against the lion's sharp teeth and claws. The artist added fire and water to the background, but chose to delineate neither the white bread, the brown bread, nor the plum pudding referenced in the poem. And once again, all the art in our collection is important to us, but not necessarily important art. This is considered an important painting by expressionist painter Paul Klee. It was a conscious attempt to create art reflecting childlike innocence. Art historians infer that the cat is thinking about the bird in his head. Paul Klee's paintings sell at auction for over $5 million, way beyond our budget. But we have Sphinx Not. We have no idea what this cat is thinking about. The ancient Egyptian Sphinx denotes wisdom and power with its human head and lion's body. In the painting, we see quite the opposite, as the not-so-noble feline with the skinny man's body rests his face in his hands in a classic pose indicating despair and confusion. A family on vacation in the Rocky Mountains encounters some surprisingly large wildlife very close to their Airbnb. A great blue spirit watches over a tropical paradise featuring scarlet ibises, a red octopus, a pre-cooked lobster, tropical fish, and sunken treasure. Knowing his species does not swim, a lone giraffe stays very close to the beach as he walks gingerly in a rough sea. Perhaps he has strayed so far from his normal grassy savanna habitat in a desperate search for relief from the noxious yellow cloud that hovers incessantly around his head. So we have some more big animals here. The man who donated this painting is named Olaf. He found it in his basement in an apartment in Brooklyn. He and I spent many fruitless hours and headache remedies trying to decipher the grotesque faces, disjointed body parts, amorphous shapes, paint drips, and other abstract elements in this work. The obvious conclusion, the pink elephant in the room, as it were, is that they are simply there to provide textural background for Pearl, who dances joyfully over everything. The woman who donated this painting wrote that it was a gift from the artist early in their romantic relationship. Years later, she decided to donate the work to M.O.B.A. She wrote, "What says love like a dead plant and an emaciated, dead-eyed zebra?" And unfortunately, well, let's see. Yeah, it's been sort of a down year for the Red Sox this year, but there's always next year. In this painting, the Red Sox runner successfully avoids the catcher's tag at the plate, only to be swallowed by a mysterious beast. The viewer is left to wonder why he decided to return home from first base. This painting is the result of unrequited love. The artist sublimated his rage after being spurned by a Russian woman by representing himself as a legendary abominable snowman in a fearsome pose. And I recently learned that the writing on the upper right is Russian for "Would you like to have coffee?" Apparently, the woman did not want to have coffee. When the artist completed the self-portrait, he took it to an open field and shot it with a shotgun. This moving work portrays the departure of the spirit of a noble fowl, whose head recalls the handle of a child's umbrella. The viewer is left to ponder the cause of, as well as the artist's decision to memorialize this fish's demise. A centaur and a motorcyclist race on a beach to determine how much progress has been made since the Greek gods reigned. The artist of this painting made the interesting decision to depict 1.5 cows in a pastoral plein air painting while avoiding the inconvenience of actually going outside. Without giving the viewer any indication of the fowl's reasoning process, the artist has portrayed a chicken in the foreground crossing a road deep in the forest. The black bunny in the distance does not seem to care why the chicken is coming, but is intent upon getting to the other side. Returning home from a hard day at work, Super Chicken finds dinner on the table. He is not amused. Two or more artists contributed to this work, in which we are reminded, when walking the desert at night, to remain focused. Here's a short educational video about this painting. Well, here's a short video about this painting. I hope you find it informative.
Ferret in a brothel. Anonymous. 24 inches by 18 inches oil on canvas. For centuries, master painters have found prostitutes in their work environment to be a rich and interesting source of thematic material. The anonymous painter of this work has inexplicably chosen to depict a ferret as a lady of the evening in a Victorian room featuring flowered wallpaper and luxurious velvet curtains. She wears only a long pearl necklace and gazes provocatively at the viewer as she dances unashamedly to the music playing on a vintage record player. The reversed eighth notes may hint at secret meaning in the music being played backwards, or, more likely, may simply reflect the artist's unfamiliarity with proper music notation.
This is a robin song. The young woman's head is slightly atilt under the weight of impossibly orange hair in this idyllic tableau. A tiny songbird has flown from the dwarf tree and alit into a one-dimensional chair, contemplating the coiffure as a potential new home. Unlike the sacrificial canaries in a coal mine, the seagulls in this metaphorical painting are free to leave when they sense conditions are deteriorating. And this is the song of a northern flicker, related to a woodpecker. The artist boldly jumps into the natural selection versus creationism debate by portraying what may have resulted if the intelligent designer had made some different decisions. Two despondent rhesus monkeys huddle before a two-dimensional background of acacia trees that may represent their shrinking natural environment. One of the monkeys looks back at an equally forlorn woman nursing a large glass of milk in an orange and white striped cabana. And going back to the intelligent design debate, the artist graphically his or her belief, actually, I should say, the artist graphically illustrates his, her, or their belief about the origin of species. A few more words of explanation may have helped communicate his, her, or their belief. And here's a very dark painting. Reminiscent of Judith clutching the head of Holofernes, teary-eyed Lady Liberty celebrates her victory over the enemy and hopes peace can return to the city. There's a lot of symbolism, there's a lot of imagery and symbolism in this painting. You might be able to see the Twin Towers burning here. We see the skyline of New York City. We see the aircraft carrier, the Intrepid, which is in the Hudson River on the west side of Manhattan. And in other news, her jaundiced bald eagle has caught a large fish. And speaking of fish, yellow walleye, Sander vitreus, is a freshwater perciform fish native to most of Canada and the northern United States. They're also called yellow pike or pickerel. Blue walleye, Sander vitreus glaucus, was a close relative but was declared officially extinct in 1983. The black walleyes in this painting seem to be of a different order entirely. This appears to be a blow-up doll mounted atop a giant lobster. It may be an unfinished study for a larger, hopefully more realized work. It also may have been inspired by Deborah Winger riding a mechanical bull in the 1980 film Urban Cowboy. I never get tired of watching that clip, but in case you found it offensively misogynistic, we also have another painting by Mary Newman. In this painting, she portrays anatomically incorrect rabbits to make an important, if confusing, statement about gender politics. And it's part of my awesome interpreting responsibility to give titles to the works. In this case, the title was written on the back of the canvas. Rather than portraying the Easter Bunny hippity-hopping among colorful spring flowers signifying rebirth, the artist has chosen to depict an angry hare sneering as dying autumn leaves fall in this disturbing yet compelling image. Pink Amazon River dolphins, Inia geoffrensis, are known locally as botos. They live in the Amazon and Orinoco river basins in South America. Males have been observed using their penis to penetrate other males or females' blowholes. They are among the few species known to engage in recreational nasal sex. Here the artist has portrayed the late Shamu the killer whale mid-breach after enjoying a sushi dinner. Maybe she's celebrating the news that SeaWorld will no longer present inhumane orca shows. Of course, we know nothing of the former occupant of the life preserver floating in the ocean. Fearing the oil slick that threatened to spoil their environment, the birds and fish flew south in search of cleaner water. Iridescent moon jellyfish swim around classic ruins under a colorful constellation of stars and planets. 7 death masks litter the floor. One of them wears a necklace featuring what may be the key to understanding this bewildering tableau. I don't know if we can see. Well, here's the key right here. A scholarly fan of the museum observed that entasis is well captured in the ruins here. We did some research to find out what we could about entasis. It turns out that entasis is almost universal in classic architecture. It's the convex curve given to a column. You can see here and here, the slight convex curve given to a column in an attempt to correct the optical illusion of hollowness or weakness that would arise from normal tapering. Some modern examples of entasis include classic Coke bottles, not Pepsi, bowling pins, and Mrs. Robinson's leg in The Graduate.
And here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. Jesus loves you more than you will know.
Here we have another painting. We were surprised to find yet another painting including jellyfish. A few female foxes feature radiant red hair and bright baby blue eyes. Many males of the species find them irresistibly attractive. And we have another fox here. There's a Talmudic parable about a sly fox who unsuccessfully tried to convince a fish trying to avoid a fisherman's net that he would be safer on dry land. This confusing painting of a well-dressed fox and a smoke ring blowing goldfish seems to have nothing to do with that ancient tale. This painting speaks for itself. Okay, thank you. The surrealist Rene Magritte made many versions of The Therapist from 1937 into the 1950s. All the versions feature a pair of doves in a birdcage with the door open. While Magritte never explained the imagery explicitly, it's generally believed that the bird outside the cage represents the psychotherapist trying to coax the other bird to free himself from the dark and lonely interior confinement. We have none of these in the M.O.B.A. collection, but we do have Desert Still Life. At first glance, this seems to be a painting of a seated woman wearing a large sun hat and sensible shoes. Upon further examination, the viewer cannot help but notice that her head and torso have been replaced by an anatomically incorrect ring-necked pheasant perched in an oil lamp. The incongruity of the scene is lost on the marmot munching on a seed behind the chair. This is a gruesome bisection of an earthworm. It's difficult to discern whether the section on the left is the front or the back. Probably information only useful to another earthworm. Red-eared sliders, tiny and fluffy, perform their death-defying two-terabin pyramid. These are my, they're my late turtle pets. And while we're at the circus, the artist has created a colorful and texturally rich homage to Mother Nature. In addition to the secular Madonna and baby, there's a lot to look at in this piece. There's real birch bark glued to the trees, real birch leaves, and real maple leaves. Or as they say in Toronto, maple leaves. There are a number of little animals in the forest. The tiny snail is painted, but the butterfly is a real butterfly glued to the canvas. She has one green arm and one brown arm, and her hair is half blue and half yellow. Adding to the sense of rich texture is her plaster left hand and face. One eye is a rainbow, the other is the sun. And someone has pointed out that the blue and yellow seem to be, well, they are the colors of Ukraine. This was painted way before the current war there. Featuring wings that probably won't fly, chicken feet, donkey ears, pointy bill, and eyes like an Egyptian, this swan is an odd duck. And by the way, as a rule, swans are vegetarians. And speaking of strange animals, Dr. Greg Mertz is the Director of Medicine and Programs at the New England Wildlife Center in South Weymouth, Massachusetts. He's known as the Odd Pet Vet. He said this is among the oddest he's ever seen, as he identified a number of the animals represented in this piece of creative taxidermy. We see the body of an armadillo, the turtle shell head, the front feet are deer, from a deer, and he's identified the teeth as raccoon teeth. And finally, the artist presents a coachman's eye view of a deserted street in a generic Mediterranean village. The anonymous painter of this work made the unusual artistic decision to concentrate on the part of the horses that left the stable last. Of course, no trip to a museum would be complete without a visit to the gift shop. And to get to the Museum of Bad Art gift shop, you would go to our website at museumofbadart.org and click on the word shop across the top. Here you can find t-shirts, mugs, calendars, books, postcards, as well as the opportunity to order a print of almost any painting in the collection. Among the most popular items in the gift shop now are this book, which was originally published in 2008 and has recently been republished, Museum of Bad Art Masterworks. Also popular is the hot off the press 2023 Museum of Bad Art wall calendar. The theme this year is the III collection. Eyes are the window to the soul. If you really like to fill your walls with M.O.B.A. art, we still have some 2022 calendars. We have some 2021 and 2020 or even 2019 calendars. In addition, we have official Museum of Bad Art pandemic year. If you're interested in one of these masks, send us an email. And actually, if you have anything, any comments or questions, or if you would like to receive our very occasional newsletter to hear about what's going on at the museum, you would use this email address, moba@museumofbadart.org. If you'd like to help support the museum by donating money, you can do that at our website, museumofbadart.org/donate. And if you would like to donate art, please send if you find something or you have something that you find in a thrift store or yard sale or in your basement and you think it's appropriate for our collection, please take a photo and send it to me at curator@museumofbadart.org. And if I agree that what you have is appropriate for our collection, I'll tell you how to get it to us. The easiest way to stay abreast with what we're up to, the easiest way is to follow us on Facebook. And the nice thing about Facebook, and there you would just go to Facebook and look for the Museum of Bad Art. The nice thing about following us on Facebook is that you have the opportunity to comment on all the pieces you see. There are over 300 photos up there of pieces from the collection, and you can add your own 2 cents to the discussion. I mentioned you can put your you can also go to our website and see the collection divided into the various galleries I mentioned earlier. Also, if you go to our website, you'll have the opportunity to sign up for the occasional newsletter, or you can just send us an email to M.O.B.A@museumofbadart.org. You can see short curator talk videos like the one we saw about Ferret in a Brothel on our YouTube collection, which is youtube.com/M.O.B.A curator. I would like to quickly run through some news about what we've been up to. Last summer, we were very excited to see this on Jeopardy.
That's right. Art and artist for 800, please. Ferret in a Brothel and Elvis descending a staircase are two of the terrible paintings in M.O.B.A, the Museum of This. Sandy.
What is bad art?
Good.
So we never describe our art as terrible, but we were pretty happy to get the national recognition. And about a week after that, the Museum of Bad Art was an answer in the New York Times Saturday crossword puzzle. From time to time, we send shows on the road. We've sent shows as far as Taiwan and Tokyo. Last summer, we sent over 100 paintings. In the summer of 2021, we sent over 100 paintings to Quebec City, and the show was very well accepted, and we were invited back again this past summer. We had another show in Quebec City, and we're very excited to say that after a number of years of being essentially homeless, over the years we have had galleries in various movie theaters. We were in the theater in Dedham, Massachusetts for about 15 years, and then for another 12 years in the basement of the Somerville Theater in Somerville. Since the COVID pandemic, people stopped going to theaters, but we're very excited to announce that just last month we opened a new public gallery. We'll be at the, and this is a must see for any of you who are in the Boston area. We have a new gallery at the Dorchester Brewing Company, which is a very nice brew pub right in Boston on Massachusetts Avenue. So it's taken a little bit longer than I had hoped, but I hope you enjoyed your visit.
I'm a zoo. I'm a zoo. I'm a zoo. I'm a zoo. I'm a zoo.
I will stop sharing my screen and be happy to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, so Michael, so first of all, thank you very much. Great job. I'm going to, let me read some comments first.
Sure.
Kathleen thought that the presentation was hilarious. Myra loved your presentation. Nancy said this was great and hilarious. I'm chuckling at your deadpan narrative. Please come back and do the one on doppelgangers or any other topic. Lori asked about the museum reopening, which you've just touched on. Eva Jane says, I was entranced by the clever commentary that was so wonderfully enhanced by the music and the vocalization of the animals and the birds. This is high praise from a lover of fine art. She says, thank you, very funny, and I don't think some of the art was actually that bad. Robin said, great fun. Gail said, used to love seeing you at the Dedham Theater and then the Somerville Theater. Barb says, this was delightful, thank you. Renee says, wonderful fun, thanks so much. Wendy said, I loved this Zoom. Karen says, such a great gift, such a gift to art and humanity. And let me read, we did have a couple of questions. Let me read these to you.
Yeah, can I just make one comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
From time to time, I do hear the comment that one particular painting isn't so bad, and sometimes people will go far as to say, "Oh, this is not so bad. It doesn't belong here." And to that, I remind people that they would probably not see these works in any other museum. So if you enjoy seeing it, enjoy seeing it.
An anonymous attendee asks, I can't believe for all the years I lived in Somerville, I didn't know that the Museum of Bad Art was in Davis Theater. The museum is fascinating. What can the museum do to get on the radar of convention bureaus and tour groups?
Well, we do have an interesting problem, and that, first of all, we have over the years we have been received a lot of international press. People know about us. The word has spread around, literally around the world, to the point where the museum has been on many people's must-see list when they come as tourists, or people come to Boston for whatever reason. Many people really would like to see the Museum of Bad Art. Mm-hmm. And so when information is out on the internet, such as the information that we were in the Dedham Community Theater, when we moved to the Somerville Theater, some people were still showing up in Dedham. So it's an interesting dilemma. Now we still have people, even though we haven't been there for a few years, going over to the Somerville Theater looking for the museum, and there's really not much we can do about it except spread the word as efficiently as we can. We send out press releases. There are many articles written about the museum. We have contacted all the people. We've gone through the records and contacted all the articles about us in the various travel magazines. We've been written up in many of the airline magazines, that the free airline magazines on that you see in the free seat in front of you. We've contacted as many people as we can, as many of those venues as we can, to tell them that we have a new venue, and we hope that the information gets upgraded. It's not easy to.
And the 50 or 60 of us who watch today, and the hopefully 50 or 60 that will watch on demand, we can spread the word and tell our family and friends and our social media networks. And then speaking of that new location, Gail says, all the best at Dorchester Brewery. It is a nice space. So I think we've zipped through all the questions and comments. Michael, do you have any last words before we wrap it up?
No, I would encourage people to go over to the Dorchester Brewery. It's a nice place. First of all, they have good beer if you like beer. Even if you don't drink beer, there's a restaurant it's a separate business in the building, but there's a barbecue restaurant. It's a very nice place to meet friends and to enjoy. We have over about 40 paintings there now. There are 40 hanging.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
I'd like to thank people for their interest in sticking with it. It felt like
thank you, Michael.
A lot of information there.
Michael, I want to thank you. I want to thank Louise, who I know couldn't make it, but I always thank her for organizing these for me. And I want to thank the Friends of the Library. I want to thank all our viewers. And folks, look for that email tomorrow with the recording, the feedback survey, and some more art history programs coming up. So thank you all so much, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Have a good one. Thanks again, Mike. Bye.